Da-da-da! What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. We are coming to the end of our work week, a kind of a Monday to Friday kind of thing, right? With these powerful words we have been picking up every week. And hi, if you've never met me, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside, and we've been picking random powerful words each week and just kind of working in them, working in the different perspectives. Sometimes it's a story, an experience. Sometimes it's a lesson that has been passed down to me. This week we got the word trust. And, as we're, moving forward with our lives, we kind of pick up lessons along the way, like I said, from all kinds of sources, from our conversations, from our relationships, in those lessons that we're meant to sit in on, and those lessons that we just stumble over and discover for ourselves along the way. It's all part of our makeup, and it's all part of that leveling up in creating the best human being we possibly can, right? For myself, at the very least. Here in Canada, we had this commercial. I see it online every once in a while, and it's starts off with a lady. She's riding on a bike, and then she gets off her bike and she picks up a piece of litter off the ground and she puts it in the garbage pail. And then there's some captions that kind of run across the screen as she's riding off into the sunset on her bike. And that message was, to take care of the world, enjoy the world, right? Create the best human being we possibly can. Not word for word, but this is the messaging that I get from this commercial. And it's a government, and some people might look at it as propaganda, but, being the experiencer and the explorer that I am, having that little bit of, I don't know, introspection on some of these topics that I hold close to myself, that I pick things up along the way. And because it doesn't come across somebody else's path, it just means you're not picking up that lesson. It doesn't mean that you're not picking up lessons, you're just not picking up that lesson, right? So it's become part of my mission statement, isn't it? It takes all kinds to make the world, right? Life is what happens to us while we're making other plans. But it's how we show up. That's the big part of the lesson, right? To come out of that studentship, right? That taking guidance from others. And I love listening to perspective, because I understand for myself that probably, right, my family has been running with perspectives for a very long time and probably held very dear in some of those perspectives. I just have to look at my family tree to see all the archbishops and bishops and nuns to realize, that Christianity, at the very least, or right, some stem off of Christianity, has been a prevalent part of my family's movement. My grandfather, I think he broke away from that, because even though my mother was very spiritual, she kept it, right? It was a personal experience for herself. It wasn't something that was forced on us. Yes, we went to Sunday school, but by our own choice. Oh my goodness, nothing like a Sunday school picnic, or a Sunday school teacher telling one of the Bible stories. I loved going to Sunday school, right? And because of those other parts of me, I even believed in a lot of it, but a lot of it through my experience and the evidence that was in my life, I couldn't hold too dear, because, in that case, it made me a non believer in that. And I think that's part of the breakaway in these understandings that we have, that it doesn't have to be tied to religion. I am non denominational. So going back to this stem before I go down those side branches all the time, but coming back to the main trunk of the tree, you know, in this idea of trust and, for highly sensitives and empaths and, you know, old souls that have been broken in giving up in that trust and that love and in that caregiving. Well, it is. It's in the caregiving. It's in the caregiving. It's in the that stewardship of right, not just the country I live in, not just the landscape and the environment that I live in, but who I live in this environment with, right? It takes all kinds to make the world. I truly believe that. But, you look out at the world and it's obvious we're not quite there yet. But man, we're making strides. Aren't we making strides? We're making big strides and they're failing, right? Quite harshly in some of those strides. And we see that, some of those strides, the evidence might not have manifested yet. And yet we see the detriment. We see the tails and the the misalignment that has come to the surface because of this experimentation that we do. Right. Life is what happens to us while we're making other plans, but I believe that it's in our choices, right? And in our choices, if I believe that, I have to believe in myself, don't I? I have to trust in myself. And I said we were going to talk about it a little bit, just in that trusting of yourself. Because, for somebody who's been taught you're good for nothing, what do you know? Just be quiet, right? If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. You're not to be seen. You're not to be heard, right? Take this. Feel my pain. Understand me. And we kind of lose ourselves in that process. And not truly lose ourselves, but lose ourselves in a way that we're not trusting in ourselves to hold up to that pushback, right? Grateful. I have no idea how I saw it or why I saw it, right? I suspect it's, right, the people that we surround ourselves with. And as much as there was some negative influence and some negative experiences in my life, I was part of a team, right? And you hear me talk about my father all the time. I am my father's daughter. And even though I wasn't woke at the time, I would give anything just to be able to sit and have that conversation with him, right? But he didn't see it in me, and I saw it in him, but I just didn't know what it was. That was just my dad, and I was my father's daughter. So I came into this with a few lessons under the belt already. I probably understand that pretty good, right? But they're lessons nonetheless. And how amazing to get those lessons not from one generations, but through a generation of a time before us, right? Because it's that evidence that time changes, right? What the knowledge was yesterday is not the knowledge in what we're in today, right? We're not Neanderthals anymore, but, right, we're moving out of being Homo sapiens. And it takes all kinds to make the world. All kinds are being invited to this party of movement forward. It's incredible. It's amazing. And it's the evidence of how far we've come. Yes, there's still, right? Right. But what you think about is realized. And, not being allowed to be invited to that party, I would think would be a good indicator of, right? To make some choices, right? To make a little bit of movement in a different way, maybe a better way. I have to trust in myself. In movement forward, I have to spend that time with myself. I have to be able to make good decisions that work for all parts of me. And I will trust in the majority rules, right? But I understand that I won't be bullied and I won't be cornered and I won't be made to feel guilt and shame or powerless. Well, she's kind of brave today, isn't she? Right? But, right? But it's a truth. And even if I don't speak it loudly, it's there. And I suspect if you've been hanging out with me for any length of time, you know it's there, right? But there's no reason for a lot of these conversations to come to the surface, right? It's in the step up that we get a little bit better, right? That we can get to the point where, right, we're not trusting everything out there. I'm grateful for the lessons. I'm grateful for those amazing characters who I've attached myself with, and I suspect that I will stay attached for moving forward because, right, I see the commonality. I I get it. And I suspect that if I had an opportunity to sit down and have a conversation, that we would truly have a conversation and there would be some amazing movement in that. Wow. Right? If nothing came from this experience than that, I don't know. I think that's a pretty amazing gift to be able to have interactions and be able to pass on that goodness, that magical experience, because it is magical experience. I've had that experience, and I've had that experience in a few interconnections with others, but I sure would like to have that with more, right? And it's because, right, we feel the same, that we move the same, right? At least similar, or at least be willing to listen and experience new perspectives, right? That we're going to be able to, right, better treat this world in that stewardship that each one of us has, but in a different capacity, right? And getting closer to finding that capacity. It's good to know that it's just in that physical interaction in my day to day, right? That I've gotten to the point that I truly could possibly make a difference in that influence moving forward. But I have to trust myself. I have to trust that I'm ready, right? And grateful for these platforms that allow me to practice my craft because it is a craft 100%, but it's not an unattainable and it's not an excruciating painful. It can be a little bit of a letdown, a little bit of a heartbreak in places, but isn't it true in that saying, right? You're never giving more than you can bear. Okay, you guys, I've got to run off. It's Friday. I'm going into the weekend. It's the busiest time of my work week and the job that puts the roof over my head. I give it everything. And I have lots of opportunities in my interaction, right? To pass a little bit on. Everybody, have a great weekend. If you want to come in on Sunday, we got show and tell, all my staff charges. It's a good time. Come and meet my crew. They chat more than I do. Have a great night, everybody.